Hi, this is Les Posen, Fear of Flying FlightWise psychologist. Welcome to Tel Aviv. I'm here somewhat on vacation, but also I'm visiting a group in Tel Aviv that makes virtual reality software for medical and psychological applications. I'll be seeing them sometime next week in early October. The purpose of this particular video is to discuss some of the events which happened in transit while I was flying from Melbourne, then to Istanbul, then to Tel Aviv, in terms of hearings in the United States, where a psychologist was questioned in Senate hearings with regard to her fear of flying, and there was some cause for concern that perhaps she was misleading the committee because she actually did fly. I want to make it very clear that just because someone says they have a fear of flying doesn't mean they don't fly. And I want to suggest to you that most of the patients that I see and my colleagues in this domain see regularly fly. They're just not doing it very well, or they have to do it with considerable assistance, not from family as such, but from medication, sometimes alcohol, a lot of planning in fact. And in this particular case, there was some talk that she was delayed in agreeing to a hearing date because of her fear of flying, and that in fact she shouldn't have flown anyway. It may well have been that she needed several days to compose herself and to manage and to plan for her flight. There was also some concern that she actually flies regularly, and that again is something that people with a fear of flying do often. It's a little less challenging when it's for pleasure and there's nothing at the other end except pleasure, as compared to, say, going to a meeting or an interview or some other quite stressful event, and that will in fact increase the likelihood that one will experience in preparation for a flight as well as on board some sense of foreboding or anticipatory distress, as it's called. So when you board a flight, just bear in mind that maybe a third, maybe a quarter, maybe less of those people would rather be anywhere else but on a flight. If they could just beam up a la Star Trek and be teleported to their destination, they'd gladly do it. Maybe another third, maybe less, maybe more of people on that same flight take it or leave it. If this is the best and most economical way to travel, the most useful way to travel compared to taking a boat or a train or a bus, then they'll gladly accept it. And that's the way it is. They'll have minor apprehensions, but it may be more about lost luggage or not making their connection. Then there's perhaps another third who don't really care about any of those things. They just love the whole business of traveling, having fun. They miss a connection, their luggage is lost. They take it in their stride. And I like to think that I'm one of those people. It's all part of the big adventure. But let's be very clear. People who have a fear of flying are not those who never fly. That's only just a very, very small proportion of people who never fly at all. They have set up their lives so as not to have to fly. They choose other ways to holiday. Of course, always in the back of the mind is the fear that one of these days I'm going to have to fly. Could be for a really positive reason. My daughter is graduating. My son is marrying in New York. Could be a negative reason. They get a phone call that they suspect will say, you need to get to London straight away. Your father may only have a few days. And this always sits in the back of the mind that sooner or later, for positive or negative reasons, I'm going to have to fly. And that means living a lifetime of spinning wheels in the back of your head, worrying about things quite unnecessarily. So let's just reiterate. Just because someone says they have a fear of flying doesn't mean they never fly. They most likely do, but less often than they could, and perhaps they need to fly in a particular way the night before rather than the morning of, with some assistance, perhaps with medication or some other form of safety behavior, as it's called. Longer flights especially are more difficult and might need to be broken up into smaller manageable chunks, as it's called. But please, regardless of how this turns out, and most of you will perhaps read this or hear this video well and truly after things have been settled, please be a little bit cautious about making assumptions about what's going on with fear of flying. Listen to some of the experts. Unfortunately, we've not been listened to very much in this domain. But just because someone says they have a fear of flying doesn't mean they never fly, but they are struggling to do so.